Microsoft Windows 11 24H2 update may cause SSD failures, and this is creating serious concern among users and system administrators worldwide, because as part of the August 2025 Patch Tuesday cycle, Microsoft issued an OS security update to counter threats like the Lumma Stealer and similar malware and exploits. And within this rollout, the cumulative package KB5063878 was included, but soon after release, early deployments began returning installation errors with the code 0x80240069, an issue Microsoft acknowledged and later addressed. However, what followed has proven to be far more alarming, as community testing and follow-up analysis identified a reproducible failure pattern in which certain SSDs, when subjected to sustained sequential writes of around 50 gigabytes, become inaccessible and display unreadable smart telemetry, leaving users unable to monitor drive health or access their data. And while traditional spinning hard disk drives remain unconfirmed in terms of susceptibility, evidence so far points strongly to SSDs as the primary affected devices, and this has been validated by a Japanese tester known as Niche PC Gamer, who published a detailed 21-drive matrix and a repeatable procedure showing exactly how the failures occur, with a method involving copying a large game folder, then writing an approximately 62 gigabytes archive composed of multiple video files to the target SSD, and finally decompressing that archive on the same device, with results showing that failures were most frequently triggered when controller utilization exceeded 60% during continuous writes. And among the reported devices were several FISM-based NVMe SSD models along with other drives using different controllers, making it clear that the problem is not limited to a single manufacturer. And the symptoms were especially troubling because they reportedly recurred even after a reboot, which often restored visibility to the affected SSD temporarily, but did not eliminate the underlying fault, creating an ongoing risk of file corruption if the same workload was repeated. And this raises a very real danger for gamers, content creators, professionals, and enterprises that rely on sustained data transfers. Because a simple operation like moving large video archives, decompressing files, or installing massive modern games could trigger drive instability or outright failure. And with no definitive root cause yet confirmed, the responsibility is now in the hands of Microsoft and SSD vendors, who have acknowledged the issue and are currently investigating, but have not yet published a final report. And that leaves users vulnerable in the meantime, with the best available advice from experts being to immediately back up important data, avoid long sequential write operations on systems that have already received the KB5063878 update, and closely monitor both Microsoft advisories and vendor announcements for potential SSD-specific firmware updates, driver patches, or OS-level fixes, because once corruption occurs, recovery may be impossible, and this entire incident highlights once again the fragile balance between the need for timely security updates and the potential unintended consequences they may bring, especially when those consequences extend beyond software glitches and into physical hardware behavior. And as we have seen from community findings, the scale of testing done by independent users is already painting a clearer picture than official statements, which emphasizes how important grassroots technical reporting is in exposing flaws that otherwise might remain hidden. And in a year like 2025, where ransomware, malware, and data breaches are at an all-time high, the irony of security update, creating potential data loss scenarios, is not lost on the community, leading to frustration, caution, and in some cases rollback of updates by advanced users. But for average consumers, this is not always practical, leaving them in a dangerous limbo where installing the update could risk their SSD health, while skipping the update could leave them exposed to malware. And that is exactly why clarity from Microsoft is urgently needed, because with millions of systems worldwide running Windows 11 24H2, and with SSDs being the primary storage technology in both consumer and enterprise devices, the impact of this issue could be massive if not addressed quickly. And while FISM-based drives appear to be the most at risk, based on current reports, the wider variety of controllers mentioned in test results suggests that the problem may extend to other vendors as well, making this a broad industry challenge rather than an isolated defect. And until formal guidance is released, the best course of action is to exercise extreme caution, treat your storage as vulnerable, and remember that data safety is always in your own hands through backups and redundancy, because once your SSD goes unrecognizable and smart, telemetry fails, it may already be too late. And this makes the KB50638878 update one of the most controversial Windows 11 patches in recent memory, with potential long-term consequences for Microsoft's trustworthiness in enterprise environments. And as always, we will continue to track this developing story closely. So stay safe, back up your files, and stay tuned for more updates right here on TechVerse.